Superhero TV shows are all the rage, and have been, I'd say, since Daredevil launched on Netflix in 2015. This pushed a new, dark, twisted take on the Marvel heroes that we knew. And then these two shows came along, The Boys and The Umbrella Academy. They've pushed the genre even further and taken the superhero TV shows above and beyond in terms of plotlines, graphic nature, character development, and we now tend to see less of the powers and more of the people and their struggles and their triumphs. With The Boys recently finishing and The Umbrella Academy reaching successes this year on Netflix, I thought I'd take a look at both shows on the platforms and see which one reigns supreme. So, let's find out. Before I go ahead, make sure you go over to my Twitter, @BrainPilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. So without further ado, I'm BrainPilot, and here is The Boys vs. The Umbrella Academy. Just to let you know, this video contains spoilers from both of the shows, so watch with caution. The stories. The stories and plots that we are given in both of these TV shows are not light, to say the least. They're relatively heavy, with developing character arcs that take you on a real journey on a personal level. You focus on everything that's at stake. In The Boys, Compound V being released into the public and people being given it against their will. And in The Umbrella Academy, being stuck back in time and the end of the world being imminent. Both shows have massive things at stake, where, quite frankly, the end of the world as the characters and us as the audience know it would occur if they failed. But that's only a fraction of the story that we see. The main bulk of the stories in both shows are from the individual characters and the development of them and the arcs that they have themselves. This is then when the real comparison begins. Both shows contain superheroes, but we tend to rarely see their powers being used. It isn't your stereotypical superhero movie or TV show that you'd watch, with glossy scenes and stunts. They're used at points throughout the show in brief moments, but only when necessary. In The Umbrella Academy, we see Five use his powers to get around quicker, and to try and get the group out of the mess that they're in. We see Allison use her power when her husband is being mercilessly beaten by the police, and we only see the real casual use of the powers with Luther in his cage fighting and Klaus when talking to Ben. Other than that, they are rarely used other than in brief moments or in the final battle scenes. This is also apparent in The Boys. In The Boys, we see Starlight only use her powers when she's being confronted. We see Queen Maeve use her powers at the end of the show when she's highlighting that girls get it done and assists Kimiko and Starlight against Stormfront, Deep when he's battling to prove himself, and A-Train when he's racing. No moments that really provide a huge impact or benefit for them, other than in the final battles, where a lot is at stake. The main focus on the shows are the developments of the characters. Huey's love for Starlight, but confliction in standing up for what he believes in and wanting to be in The Boys and make a difference. Billy's loss of his partner and his search for her and how it has impacted him over the past 8 years. Even Homelander has these issues. His battle to stay relevant and be loved by the people. He's an egotistical maniac. And it becomes more and more apparent to the point where one of the last shots in Season 2 is him pleasing himself over the city, vocalizing that it's his. The story is far greater than their powers, but it focuses on relatable issues that we can all see in ourselves and others around us. Let's take a look at The Umbrella Academy. We have the Academy's yearn to impress their father, Vanya being left out and battling with memory loss, a journey of rediscovery, Diego's fight for being independent, and relationship issues. We also see a lot of social issues such as segregation back in the 60s with Allison. Issues that are handled extremely delicately, sensitively, and with the respect that they deserve. It's never just a hero taking down a villain, and that's what I love about both of these shows. But which has the better story arcs? In my opinion, I would have to say that I would need to give it to The Umbrella Academy. I believe that their stories allow me to drift out of reality a little more, and although touching sensitive issues, it allows me to relate to the characters in a different way, and it feels more like a genre-changing story and production. Although The Boys' plots are phenomenal and their gruesome nature is entertaining to watch, I love the more laid-back, less gritty, but dark, more sci-fi approach that the Umbrella Academy has. The characters. As mentioned in the first section, the character development and arcs are the main things that I believe contribute to the quality and standard that the shows now have. We've been introduced to many characters across the two shows that really do stand out when compared to many other shows. Even when looking back at shows like Daredevil and Jessica Jones, you can see the development of the genre and the styles since then. In looking at the characters, we see each show has a leader in Homelander and Luther, an outcast in Deep and Vanya, a loner in Black Noir and Diego, the good person in Starlight and Number 5, the mature level-headed person in Queen Maeve and Allison, the hero that's not tied to the group in A-Train and Klaus, and using this term lightly, the dead one, Translucent and Ben. Obviously Ben brings way more to the story, but that's another point. You can see that both shows follow the same structure in terms of arcs and roles that each of the characters play. Despite having a different storyline, world, and universe, it's fundamental for this structure to be there due to the dynamic of the group. We see this across both sets of characters. Both sets of characters can't choose who they're with. They're both a family. The term is used lightly, but at their core, they stand for what a family is, more than the Umbrella Academy and the Seven. I think when looking at each of the roles that the characters play, I would have to pick Homelander over Luther in terms of the leader. Homelander yearns to be accepted by the city and will do anything in his power to do so, even if that means hurting people. Luther yearns to be accepted by his father, and it never really happens. Plus, if the pair were to come up against each other, Homelander would most definitely win. Luther claims to be number 1, but I feel he's a bit of a soft touch. When it comes to the outcast, I much prefer Vanya. She brings way more to the table in terms of character development, powers, and overall performance. She feels as though she has a place in the group, despite being an outcast. The Deep kind of feels pretty pointless, and tends to just get picked on by the others. I don't feel he brings that much to the show other than comedic value, and a bit of anger at the start of Season 1. With the loner, it feels as though the two characters are approached slightly differently. Diego is a character that prefers to go off and do his own thing. Yet Black Noir does that and we see no personality whatsoever from him. But it's humorous. They both work in terms of performance, but we actually get to connect with Diego's struggles and his triumphs. The good person role is between Starlight and Number 5. I think it's pretty obvious who is the best out of the two. Number 5 for sure. He brings power, humour, wit, emotion, and a phenomenal performance by Aidan Gallagher. I don't think Starlight comes close to Number 5 when comparing the type of character that they play. Starlight is a main driver for the boys, and shows the good in the soups, but in terms of the role that she plays, I think Number 5 represents it better in keeping the family together and believing in good, despite having to do wrong from time to time. Queen Maeve and Allison as the mature leader are both very close, and if I'm being honest, I think they both do a great job in their roles. I wouldn't say that either is better than the other in terms of performance or character. They each have their struggles, and they each have a justification for their triumph and a journey that you go on with them, and I'm on side with both of them. Plus, they both do have cool powers. A-Train and Klaus are the two characters that aren't tied to the group and just go off and do their own thing, but we do actually get to experience it with them. A-Train with his partner, his racing, and his struggle with addiction, and Klaus with his cult and all of the antics that he gets into. I think out of the two, I would have to pick Klaus for this one. We get to see an emotional side to Klaus that we don't get to see with A-Train, and this is brought out of him through the character Ben. We saw a slight redemption at the end of Season 2 with A-Train, but that's the closest thing to a connection that we've seen from him. Now the dead one. Although it's not quite the same strictly speaking, it's 100% Ben who this goes to. We see how Ben tends to influence the group, especially Klaus, even though he's absent for most of the show. Translucent I found a little annoying in Season 1 and felt like he served his purpose after a few episodes. One thing that The Boys does have are the vigilantes in The Boys, which do bring a massive part to the show and stand for more than what the Seven do, so it's quite hard to leave them out when comparing. However, this is directly comparing the characters in The Seven and The Umbrella Academy. The boys have a whole other arc of stories that are even more relatable, but I'm just comparing the superhero element. The performances from both casts are great and they each serve their purpose, but I would have to say that I find the heroes better in The Umbrella Academy, but I 100% support the boys. This round has to go to The Umbrella Academy. Final thoughts. Overall, I would have to say that whilst both shows do a phenomenal job in pushing the superhero genre in a new direction, and consist of cast members that deliver the characters that we've grown to love and watch develop over 2 seasons, I would have to say that I prefer The Umbrella Academy. Not only for its plots and its characters, but also the way that it's shot from a stylistic point of view. It's a very dark show with glossy colours that pop on screen when you're watching. It's so satisfying to watch on the eye. The Boys provides a gritty, rough, yet glossy, humorous, and pure ruthless ride, which I enjoy in its own right. But if I had to pick and only watch one, The Umbrella Academy takes it for me. So, there you have it. The 2 shows against each other and one's come victorious. The Umbrella Academy. What show do you prefer? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.